My name is Leah Katzer, and I am the statewide program director here at JA of Washington. We are so excited that you could join us this afternoon for our Lunch with Leaders series. I'm going to give a quick introduction. Then today's leader will share their story for about 15 minutes, and then we'll have 10 to 15 minutes of questions. So please feel free to put your questions in the chat box to me, the host, during the session, and then I will get them to our leader a little bit later. Educators and parents, if you're joining with students, please go ahead and put a note to me in the chat box indicating how many students joining with today so that we can account for everybody that was here. So I am pleased to be able to introduce Amelia Ransom, who is the Senior Director of Diversity and Inclusion, at Avalara, and also a past Junior Achievement statewide board member. So Amelia, a fun fact about her is that she has been to all 50 states and is a California resident or California native local. Right there. So without further ado, Amelia, I will pass it off to you.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be back at Junior Achievement, even though we can't all be together, of course, but Junior Achievement is an organization that is always near and dear to my heart. I was able to serve on the board of directors for about 5 years. And I live in Western Washington. I live in Seattle. And as Leah said, I'm originally from California. So I'm from Los Angeles, born, raised, and educated there. And then I started working for Nordstrom, which may be a company that some of you have heard of, particularly if you're here in Western Washington or in the Seattle area. You've heard of it because we were founded and headquartered in the Seattle area. And I worked there for over 25 years. But I didn't stay in California. I started the company with Nordstrom in California. And then I moved to Washington, D.C., to the nation's capital. And I spent about a decade there in different jobs. I was a store manager. I was a regional manager. I did diversity and inclusion work for Nordstrom as well in the region on the East Coast. Then I moved further east, I guess, east to Connecticut and was there for a little while. I should inform you, I don't really like snow, but I kept moving to all these places that had more and more snow. And so every time I see snow, I think, is this a sign? Like, am I supposed to be here? So I moved to Connecticut and moved then for the first time to Seattle, where I led all of diversity and inclusion for Nordstrom, and then had other jobs where I led all of learning and development for Nordstrom, and other roles as well. Then I moved to Chicago, to the Midwest, and then I stayed there for a few years, and then I came back to Seattle, and I've been in Seattle ever since. About 3 years ago, I left Nordstrom and came to Avalara. And what we do at Avalara is we help companies of all sizes automate their tax compliance. So what does that mean? So if you buy something like this bottle of nail polish, you will likely pay some sales tax on it. It might be $1 or 45 cents, depending on where you buy it. So we can help companies determine how much tax they need to collect on every single individual item and to whom they need to pay those taxes. Because if you ever look at your receipt, sometimes you'll see there are multiple tax lines. There might be a city tax or a state tax or county tax, and all of those need to get paid to different jurisdictions. And so in the cloud, almost instantaneously, we help businesses calculate that rate of tax so that when you buy this, you have paid the proper tax, and those tax dollars go back to support your communities, because that's what tax dollars are meant to do. So that's what we help businesses do. I've been there just under 3 years, and I lead all of employee engagement for the organization, as well as diversity and inclusion. And so my roles can go from leading our 5 employee resource groups, which are resource groups made up of folks with similar backgrounds. We have groups, much like maybe your clubs in school, that focus on maybe the LGBTQ community or our veteran community, and others. So we have several employee resource groups, is what we call them, that focus on different segments of our population. I'm also responsible for, as I said, all of employee engagement. And really what that means is, how do employees understand what their role is in our organization? What are we doing that really drives them and motivates them every day to do their best work and to show up as their authentic self every day? So we have lots of initiatives that support our employees inside the company, whether those be, activities. Nowadays, we have a lot of activities for very small children because a lot of parents are working at home with very small children in the home today. We might have outings for folks during times when we're not all in a pandemic. We might have initiatives to help develop people in their job and their skills so that they attain more skills and can get promoted and grow in the organization as well. So all sorts of things that we do to make sure employees are really engaged in the organization. We also like to have some fun. So again, when we're usually in our normal workspace, we might have outings and barbecues and picnics and things like that to help people really stay together. Today, we're doing all of that virtually. So a lot of what we're doing is how you're going to school today, which is in Zoom. So we might do activities together, like all getting a painting canvas and painting something together, or we might have contests or play games online together so that we get the work done, but we also have some fun as well. And it's one of the things that I really like working for Avalara is we have a lot of fun baked into a really kind of not very fun subject matter that we do every day, taxes. Most people don't like to think about their taxes. And so we really do try to bring some levity to what we're talking about in terms of taxes. So I've lived a lot of places. I've worked for a few companies. I'm also very involved in our community. And so as Leah said, I did used to serve on the board of directors for Junior Achievement. I also am involved with the YWCA, where I serve on the board of directors. I'm also involved with Seattle Goodwill, where I serve on the board of directors, and with the Institute of Sustainable Diversity and Inclusion, which is actually fun. I saw Lori, who's signing for us earlier today, in that same meeting. So now Lori's my best friend. It's official because I've seen her twice in one day. That's how you become best friends with me. So that's some of what I do and involved in our community. I now live in Seattle and I've been here, oh gosh, I guess I've been back maybe 6 or 7 years at this point. And the first time I lived here for about 5 years. So that's what I do. Normally, I really love to travel. As Leah said, I have been to all 50 states. I've been to several countries as well. My favorite country that I've ever traveled to is Ghana. And we tend to go there once a year, typically, to visit. But I've also been some other fun places that I've really loved, like Turkey and Greece and Scotland. So those are some of my other favorite places that I've traveled to as well. And you can convince me to travel somewhere if you promise me there'll be good food. So if you know of somewhere I should go because there's really good food, please get it on my list. So that's a little bit about me. I don't know if that was 15 minutes, but that's a little bit about me.
Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, you wanted me to give some advice. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wanted me to give a tip. My tip would be, there will always be people who don't believe in your skills and abilities. Don't be one of them. That's my tip.
That is a strong, solid tip there. Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah. So folks, if you have questions for Amelia, please feel free to put them in the chat box and I will share those out as they come through. I have some questions that people submitted when you signed up, so I can start with those while we're generating more questions in the chat box. One of the questions that we have is, how did you find your path and your passion for work and life?
In some ways, it found me. When I started working, I didn't know anything about diversity and inclusion work. And I haven't always been in diversity and inclusion. I have been what we would say in the business, leading business and leading large teams as well. And so I think the work found me because I am the type of leader who is always driven toward an outcome and wants to tie everything I'm doing to the goals of the organization. So when you're that kind of leader, opportunities tend to find you. It's one of the reasons I moved around so much. But the specific work that I do now in diversity and inclusion found me because I believe very deeply in social justice. I believe very deeply in ensuring that we have equity for all people. Our nation, our businesses, our communities run better when everyone has a chance to contribute. And so I really feel like this work is the work of ensuring our collective success. If we have people in an organization, in a school, in a community that cannot fully contribute, we're only hurting ourselves. I firmly believe things like the cure for cancer aren't likely going to come from the places that we might think it's going to come from. We have to look everywhere to solve all of the hard problems in front of us. And if we're going to limit people based on their background, based on their socioeconomic background, based on their race, based on their gender, if that's what we want to do, then we will always be sort of behind the 8 ball. We will never be able to really get in front of our problems. And I'll say this, if the problems that we need to solve were already going to be, like people would have already solved them if they were easy. We need everybody rowing in the boat. I need everybody to figure this out. There's a lot in front of us. Things like climate, things like race, things like, economic parity in our communities. Those aren't going to be solved just by the wealthy or just by the privileged.
Great, thank you. So you mentioned that you do employee engagement and different activities with the team to keep people motivated. Chats are coming in. What activity have you done with your staff that has been your favorite, both virtually and in person?
Oh, we did, I'll give you 2. One, time with drag queen. And I'm just gonna let you know, if you have never done story time with a drag queen, which sometimes happens at the local libraries, I went to one at the downtown Seattle library, it's fantastic. I mean, when was the last time somebody read you a story, first of all? Second of all, someone's gonna do that in like 3-inch lashes and a sparkly dress? Yes, please. It was fantastic and it was fun and it created a lot of community. So thing one. And the other thing that we've done is what we called Meet Our Neighbors. So when we first into our headquarters building, which was just about 3 years ago when I started with the company, we moved into a very beautiful building. And, I always said when I moved somewhere, I'd like to meet my neighbors. And so we wanted to do the same when we became a new neighbor in the Pioneer Square neighborhood. And we would invite in nonprofits to talk about their organizations and to see how we could contribute. Organizations like Operation Sack Lunch, which Pioneer Square neighborhood and meals every single day of the year, 365 days to our neighbors who do not have homes. It was fantastic because they came and talked to us about what they do. And then we set up teams to go out and volunteer and serve meals with them on a regular basis. So it's a way to engage with our community. It's a way to literally meet our neighbors. They're only a couple of blocks away from us. And to be, a great citizen as well. So those are really fun. But I'm just here to let you know about Story Time with the Drag Queen. I'm here for it all day.
I was looking at Airbnb like experiences the other day because I did a dumpling making class and I saw story time with a drag queen. Yes, you can
Do
sign
it.
up for that on Airbnb. I was very close. I will probably do it now.
Do it. Yes.
That's amazing. Um, for students who are interested in maybe starting an affinity group at their school or in their community, what advice do you have for them in just getting started?
Mm. I think is to ensure you know why you're doing it. Because affinity groups, research groups, or whatever you want to call them, your clubs, should really be in service of something bigger. And so when we think about our employee resource groups, yes, they are a safe space for our employees. They obviously and absolutely have to serve that purpose, but they are open to everyone. And so if I use our UJIMA group as an example, which is a group for our Black employees, it is geared toward our Black employees, but anyone can attend because you will find allies sometimes where you least expect them, who really want to be in service of your needs as well. But when I say make sure it serves something bigger than you, what I really mean by that is how will the organization or your school be better because of what you've done? If I go back to an experience I had in high school, I was the student body president in my high school. And one of the things I really wanted to start was a great student council. It was a very new high school. I was only in the 5th graduating class of this high school at the time, so it was very new. And I really wanted to have a student council that helped the school understand how to serve its students. And one of the things I'm really proud of is they still have that council today. And they still use some of the bylaws that we created. And the last time I was at my high school, they were like, "Are you Amelia Ransom?" And I thought, where have you seen my name? Like, I haven't been here in years. But because it's still on some of those original things that we created and those original documents we created for my school. So think about the legacy that you would leave your school, the roadmap that you might leave your school as you're thinking about starting a group. Yes, you want to have fun. Yes, you want to be around people like you, but you actually want people to be better, and you want your school to be better because your group exists.
Perfect. Thank you. With your extensive experience in DEI, what have you seen as the biggest mistake businesses make when it comes to their internal DEI work?
I'll give you two. One is not doing it consistently. I say that, last year in the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and others, lots of organizations were starting to do the work. There was a lot of interest in the work. And I call that being at the gym in January. Everybody goes to the gym in January. We all start our new goals, new year, new me, summer body ready, whatever. Well, you have to be at the gym in July. You can't just be at the gym in January. You have to keep doing the work. And so the biggest mistake is that people don't keep doing the work. The other mistake is that they don't really understand what is happening inside the organization, but they want to solve their diversity problems by going out to hire. Well, if we just hired more women, if we just hired more people of color, we'll be great. That is what I call the problem of the ice cream. The problem of the ice cream is I can go out for you today and find you 31 flavors of delicious ice cream. In fact, there's a whole store dedicated to just that. But if I bring you 31 flavors of ice cream and you don't have a freezer to put it in, and the ice cream melts, who are you going to blame? Yourself or the ice cream? You need to blame, but too often organizations blame the ice cream. They say, we're going to go out and get all these people and bring them in, but you don't have the right environment. And so you need to focus on your environment to ensure that it's actually hospitable to the people that you want to bring into your organization. If not, you will return to melted ice cream. As you can see, I like to eat, and I like to eat ice cream a lot.
Wonderful advice and an excellent segue into our next question. You talked about traveling, and food is a big motivator for traveling, which I share that with you. What's your favorite travel dish? Tell us a travel story.
Oh, there are so many. In Brazil, it was feijoada, which is a local dish in Brazil. And we were in, I can't remember which city we were in. I think we were in Rio, but I'm not entirely sure when I first encountered that dish. And it's just fantastical. I don't even have words to describe it. It's just fantastic. Um, Another really fantastic, I like water a lot and ocean a lot. And when we were in Mykonos in Greece, we literally, a fisherman came up, we watched him come up from the water and walk over to the restaurant we were sitting at and sell them fish. And we got to eat those fish. Like, he had just been fishing. I don't think I've ever had fish that was better than that. I don't think I ever will. Like, I'll be chasing the taste of that fish the rest of my life. It was that good. So anything, I like to try local things when I'm there. In Turkey, they have apple tea, and I really enjoyed the apple tea. So anything that's different and unique and special to that country, I'm very, very interested in.
That sounds all amazing. I'm not sure if you mentioned if you travel for work or just for pleasure, but a student was curious, hey, if I would love a career that takes me around the world, what are some things they can maybe start doing or look for in companies that they're exploring to help pursue that goal?
Well, you'll want to work for a global company. So lots of companies are big and global, and some are smaller like mine and global also. And so you'll want to look for that if that's something that you're interested in. In fact, the first time I ever traveled to India was with my job. I had been to the Asian continent only briefly, and I've been to India now twice with Avalara because we have significant operations in India. And it's really great because you get to be with, people, colleagues that you maybe talk to on the phone, or now we all experience in our Zoom calls, and eat with them and spend time with them. And they took me shopping for saris, and I I ate everything they put in front of me and did not have a disappointing meal. And you get to experience the museums and the cultures and the customs. And I went to several temples to experience their culture, and was invited into people's homes to experience their culture. And so it's really, I love seeing the world that way. I find that in the US, we tend to have a very myopic view of the rest of the world. And going and really experiencing it, you find so many similarities between people. The things that we think make us different are very, very small. They really are very, very small. And it's very easy to fall into stereotypes about people just based on what we see on TV or in the movies or on our social media, when in fact, I have never found those stereotypes to be true or my preconceived notions to be true when I actually travel to a country.
Great, thank you. So as we're speaking to some high school students today, curiosity around as they're graduating in this climate that we're in, and looking to maybe get into the tech field, what are some skills that you think that you would recommend that they explore or try and build up as they're trying to make themselves competitive for roles?
Mhm. The skills that you most need to be competitive are an ability to be agile. And what I mean by that is the ability to sort of pivot and change and think differently. It's not so much about the coding language that you might learn or know, or that tech skill. It's not really that. It's the ability to be adaptable. It's the ability to be in a new environment and be okay with that. You know, to the earlier question, when you're asking about travel and all of that, if you can't be in a different environment and eat different foods and go along with different customs, you're going to find yourself disadvantaged. I'll give you an example. When I went to visit India, it is customary to do what I will call special things with your right hand. I was invited to light a candle, for example. I was invited to cut a ribbon, for example. I am left-handed. I find it very difficult to do almost anything with my right hand. But I needed to be adaptable in that environment because it is the custom there. Now, it's not about writing with your hands or anything like that. That's not what they're talking about. But things that are significant and special are traditionally, not always, but traditionally done with your right hand. I needed to be adaptable quickly because it was something I didn't realize until the person handed me the candle to light. And she said, you have to put that in your other hand. And I thought, I might burn this whole building down. You want to hand me live fire in my non-dominant hand? This is a bad idea. But I made it through and I was able to do it. But that's a small example, but it is really indicative of what you most need in an environment, particularly a tech environment, because tech companies move quickly. What I might be working on 2 weeks ago may not even remotely be what I'm going to work on today. And so the ability to be adaptable in situations is the most important skill, I believe, in tech today.
I'm glad the candle situation went off that pitch.
I mean, but you have to understand, like, I'm in front of a room. There are hundreds of people there. I am one of the few women. I am the only Black person. And like all eyes are on me and there is live fire in my hand.
No pressure.
No pressure at all. And it happened when I went to put my sari on. So you wrap a sari a certain way. So I was, learning to wrap it and get it together. And I instinctively threw the shoulder part over the wrong shoulder. Now I don't know which one it is. I think I must have gone over the right shoulder when typically you would go over the left shoulder. Like in the city I was visiting, which was Pune, that would mean something different. And so you just have to really just be able to kind of go, okay, great, got it, move, go. The TSA lines they're not TSA in India, but are the equivalent of a TSA line at the airport, was segregated by gender. Well, I got in the wrong line, not realizing it. I just got in the line to go to the airport. I wasn't thinking about that. And a woman pulled me and said, you're in the wrong line. You have to get into this line, right? You've got to be willing to pivot and change at a moment's notice. It's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we just have one more moment. I'd love to hear, what's your favorite part about what you get to do every day?
That I get to do things like this. I love what I do. I love the company that I work for. But honest to goodness, you heard me talk about my community involvement. It's the most important thing to me. I was raised by parents who were givers. And I would tell you that the motto and the mantra that was very prevalent in my home is actually a scripture, and it says, freely you received, freely give. And that is my mantra. And so it is very important for me that I have a job and a company that supports me to speak to students, to serve the community, to be in our community. Because I think it's the most important thing that I can do every day is to serve others.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Amelia.
Yeah.
We are at 1:30. And so I want to thank you all again so much for joining us this afternoon, and Amelia for your time and expertise, and for being such a wonderful supporter of junior achievement. As mentioned before, folks, I put a link to a feedback survey in the chat box. Would love to get your feedback on your experience here, so that we can continue providing really wonderful programs for you all. So look forward to seeing you all at our next Lunch with Leaders sessions. And Amelia, thank you again so much. We really appreciate hearing from you, and I'm sure we'll see you again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it. Thanks so much.
Wonderful. Bye, everyone.